Want to know the latest and hottest music hitting the airwaves? Don't be left out. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Music Podcast. It keeps you on the loop with everything you need to know from pop, rock, hip-hop, and the top 40. And we'll throw in news of your favorite artists, concert and tour dates, and so much more. Listen no further, because this is the gold standard in music podcast.
Thank you for listening to the GSMC Music Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Gaelika Brown, the music lover constantly seeking positive music. Now, let's get into some music news. There is an uproar about voting. And no, I'm not talking about American politics, but rather American Idol politics. Viewers on the West Coast didn't get to cast their vote, and they are pissed about not being able to cast their vote during the finale. So a couple of comments that can be found on the interwebs are, I guess it should be called East Coast American Idol. Show just started and voting is closed. What's up with that? Another viewer wrote, Francisco, Johnny, and Dylan are all from California, but voting is closed during West Coast airing. Shaking my head. While their frustration is understandable, they actually could vote for their favorites, but may have been confused by the changes to the way voting has been handled during this COVID-19 lockdown. So unlike last year's show, which aired live coast to coast, this year's finale opened voting when the top 5 were revealed at the beginning of the East Coast feed shortly after 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. At that point, all the contestants' performances were posted online as they aired on the East Coast, allowing fans in all time zones to watch and vote for their favorites. So according to a spokesperson for the show, after moving that's what basically a spokesperson said. But while the West Coast voters couldn't watch the full show before it aired in primetime out west, they could watch all 10 performances before voting closed around 9:15 Eastern Standard Time. So check out. So yeah, that's basically it. Which I can see is confusing. I don't watch American Idol. I don't know what the heck is going on there. I literally haven't watched it probably since the Fantasia days. Was that like season 3 of like the original? So I'm totally out of the loop. But I can see why that's confusing. Because why would anyone think they're used to watching it on TV and now you're saying, oh, but you could have went online, watched the performances and voted before it even aired in your time on the West Coast. Like, they're not even thinking about going online. They're waiting for it to air on the West Coast. So I can totally understand that. So in the last minutes of the season, Arthur Gunn and Just Sam are announced as the final 2 contestants. So Ryan stares at his screen showing the now inked Johnny West, Francisco Martin, and Dylan James, but nobody says anything. A few painfully slow seconds tick by. Is it just me, or is something noticeably off with this whole thing? For one, Ryan appears to be confused after looking at the results, and there were even like rumors that he had a stroke, but that's not true. And then he looks into the camera with a seemingly dazed expression. And in the end, Ryan announces Just Sam as the winner of American Idol 2020. So we briefly see Arthur Gunn jumping up and down with his family in celebration, and that's that with him. A stunned Sam holds up an iPad with her grandmother on video chat and says, "My dreams have come true. My grandmother is good. Thank you so much, America." So in more Idol news, Idol judge Katy Perry delivered her debut live performance of Daisies inside of a spectacular digitally enhanced environment. Wearing a pink dress, no shoes, and showing her baby bump, Perry looked like Alice in her animated Wonderland, as walls and cartoon furniture appear around her and steep falls appear under her feet. So yeah, Katie is creative AF, and being at home with a baby bump isn't derailing her. The video is pretty dope if you want to check it out. Now, BMI announced Monday its 27th annual BMI Latin Award winners, including Ozana's Taki Taki, which won Contemporary Latin Song of the Year. The winners were announced online after BMI canceled its award ceremony, which was scheduled for March 31st. So other top winners included songwriter-producer Gabby Music, who won Contemporary Latin Songwriter of the Year for Chart Topper Taki Taki, sharing the honor with hitmaker Ozuna, D'Amelio V's Vincent Savadrar, and Jordan Partisan Fontaine Thorpe. Let's see, Kristen Nodell's Note Conrana Mal. Y'all know. I'm trying to give this Latin news, these Latin awards, but my apologies for not being able to speak Spanish or Latin and pronounce any of these words. So, it's Note and then Contaron, and then the second word is Mal, which was penned by Edgar Becerra. Was named Regional Mexican Song of the Year. The track spent 38 weeks atop Billboard's Regional Mexican Song chart. The Regional Mexican Songwriter of the Year award went to Giovanni Cabrera for A Través del Vaso, El Lujo de Tinche, Segundo Opacino, and Te Darán Ganas del Verme. Basically, those 4 songs. If you thought I was saying one long horrible sentence. Bringing his career total to 12 BMI Latin awards. The BMI Latin Publisher of the Year award for the 5th year in a row went to Sony ATV Music Publishing with 16 of the most performed songs, including Taki Taki, Ambiente, Amigos con Derechos, among others. All right, done with all that. Hopefully I can pronounce everything else from here on, because it's all in English. So these versus battles are becoming the best thing about the weekend these days. I mean, for most of us, I definitely am speaking for myself, the days blend. But Saturdays are starting to stand out. This past Saturday, during a momentary pause in the versus battle between Ludacris and Nelly on Saturday night, due to Nelly having internet issues, Luda debuted part of Silence of the Lambs, a new track featuring Lil Wayne that was produced by Timbaland and included references to Bill Cosby, R. Kelly, and Roseanne Barr. Ludacris did not play the entirety of Silence of the Lambs for the Instagram Live audience, which soared above 300,000 viewers, hungry for the latest versus battle. But he did hint at an extended project with Timbaland in the works. We got like 20 of these, he said at one point. He also played part of the record with Chance the Rapper, who was among the commentators on Instagram during the battle. The track debut came 3 songs into the latest versus battle when Nelly signed off due to connectivity issues, which he explained was due to storm clouds in his native St. Louis. The rapper signed back on, the versus battle resumed. So I actually didn't catch it, but I plan to watch it soon. Like, basically, when I'm done recording this, I'm gonna watch it. So Megan Thee Stallion's Savage featuring Beyonce is logging its 3rd week in the top 5 of the Billboard Hot 100 this week. The track is a serious contender for a Grammy nomination for Best Rap Performance. This will be the first time in 23 years that an all-female collab was nominated in that category, or one of its front-runner categories, Best Rap Solo Performance or Best Rap Performance by a duo or group. It last happened when Not Tonight by Lil' Kim featuring Da Brat, Left Eye, Missy Meter, Elliott, and Angie Martinez was nominated in 1997. That was called Not Tonight? I thought that was... Oh. Okay. I remember the song, but for some reason... Or maybe I'm getting confused with Lady Marmalade with Pink and Maya and... Because wasn't Angie Martinez? Oz is old. There's a lot of music content in my head. I'm getting confused. But anyways, that song with the collab of all those women, that was nominated in 1997. So obviously, that's why it's a struggle for me to remember this, because that was over 20 years ago. But 97, it was nominated for the best rap performance by a duo or group. So, dang, from 1997 to 2020, I don't know, or the Grammys would be, 2021, actually. So, anyways, next story. Rihanna. Rihanna's Clara Lionel Foundation, Jay-Z's Sean Carter Foundation, and Twitter Square CEO Jack Dorsey announced on Wednesday additional joint grants dedicated to supporting global COVID-19 rapid response efforts. The latest funds total over $6.2 million and will go towards protecting and serving marginalized populations in the United States, with a focus on New York, New Orleans, Puerto Rico, as well as international communities. Domestically, the grants will benefit foundations such as Give Directly, Mayor's Fund to Advance New York City, Covenant House New Orleans, and many more. Internationally, the grants will help Doctors Without Borders, the Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation, Direct Relief, and Team Humanity. So the announcement comes less than a week after Rihanna and Dorsey unveiled a joint $4.2 million grant to the Mayor's Fund for Los Angeles, helping domestic violence victims in the city amid the COVID-19 stay-at-home order. Additionally, CLF and CF announced $2 million in grants to coronavirus response efforts in New York City and Los Angeles. You know what? Get it, Rihanna. She hasn't made an album it's been a few years now, but she's out there. Like, she has money and she's using her money for good causes. It's not the first time we've heard Rihanna in the news about donating or doing something that benefits others besides herself. So Rihanna's dope for that. Get it, girl. We'll take a break and return with new music news.
You really can't underestimate the importance of having the right creative work for your brand or your product. Whether it's a logo, a website, a book cover, or an ad campaign, you really need a quality design to make that big difference pop and deliver your overall engagement and success in a competitive market. That's where Design Crowd comes in. Design Crowd has over 750,000 designers from Sydney to San Francisco, ready to help you with awesome creative ideas. They make crowdsourcing work for you. So if you need a logo or you're working on your creative branding, you can go to designcrowd.com and post a brief describing the design you need. And then within about 2 to 7 days, you'll receive up to over 100 different designs from designers around the world. Then you pick the best design and approve payment to the designer. So you're only paying for the design that you want. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of freelancing and out of crowdsourcing. And you don't have to be a huge company like Harvard Business School to use Design Crowd, although they have used it as well. You can start a project on Design Crowd for as little as $99. And if you go right now to designcrowd.com/health and wellness or enter the promo code health and wellness on their website, then our health and wellness listeners will receive up to $150 off of your design project. That's designcrowd.com/health and wellness or entering that promo code health and wellness.
Always on the go, but the day just won't be one without your Hollywood fix. Let Golden State Media Concepts Entertainment Podcast take care of that. An all-inclusive look of pop culture.
Welcome back to the GSMC Music Podcast. I'm your host, Gaelika Brown. So, new album releases. Future, High Off Life. Charlie XCX, How I'm Feeling Now. Moneybag Yo, Time Served Deluxe. So yeah, he already had the album come out. This is the deluxe version. Moses Sumney, Gray. Polo G, The Goat. Perfume Genius, Set My Heart on Fire Immediately. Hot new singles. Future, Trillionaire. Polo G, Flex featuring Juice WRLD. Taylor Swift, Cornelia Street, Live from Paris. Jonas Brothers X featuring Karol G. Katy Perry, Daisies. Tory Lanez, Temperature Rising, the 1975 Guys, it's the 1975, and the song is called Guys. We got Triple Red and Party Next Door with Excitement, Metallica with Blackened 2020, Road James, Plan B featuring Brandy. Now, on to tours and festival news. Here's what's newly been canceled. England's Ramblin' Man Fair 2020 has been canceled. The event, originally slated to take place at Mote Park in Maidstone, Kent, on July 17th through the 19th, with sets from Lynyrd Skynyrd, Hawkwind, Clutch, Rival Sons, and more, was forced to call this year's gathering off because the UK is not permitting mass gatherings. NCT 127 have canceled their 2020 North American tour. Kenny Chesney has pushed all the dates of his NFL Stadium Chillaxification tour in 2021. No one has tried harder than my team to make the 2020 classification tour a reality, Chesney wrote. Sadly, we cannot find a way to make it safe to navigate water. That's just not getting any clearer. So original tickets will automatically be valid for the rescheduled show dates. Kiss have postponed their 2020 Kiss Cruise. The Kiss Cruise X will now set sail on October 2021 from Port of Miami. A statement on the website reads, "We will notify you of the exact new sailing dates, lineup, and updated event information just as soon as we have all the details finalized. We've extended an invitation for all currently booked artists to join us in 2021 and are excited to share our final lineup featuring some returning and new acts for next year. For a full FAQs, just go to their page." Andrew Bird and Calexo and Iron and Wine have postponed their Great Summer Stroll tour. New Order and Pet Shop Boys are postponing their Unity tour of North America. It was originally scheduled to kick off in September, and now it will be September 2021. Iconic British festival Creamfields have postponed this year's event until 2021. And Slipknot summer tour dates have been canceled. So all their North American and UK shows, as well as the Knotfest at Sea, are no longer happening. Two of England's most iconic festivals, Reading and Leeds, have been canceled this summer. And Bob Dylan's A Never Ending Tour has been put on ice for the summer. Yeah, nothing about being rescheduled yet. The Black Keys have canceled their summer headlining tour. All right, so all that's been canceled, but no fear, streaming. You can still stream and hang out with your favorite artists. Because that's how everything is now. They're streaming concerts from the house. So for this week of May 18, there will be a feature at-home sets from Shaggy and Mario via the Billboard's Facebook page. Tiffany will kick things off Monday with a set at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The Billboard Live series launched on March 19th with the help of JoJo, Josh Groban, and Russell Dickerson, who selected nonprofits to support during their live stream to benefit those most affected by COVID-19. Billboard Live at Home series thus far has helped charities such as Meals on Wheels, Downtown Women's Center, and My Friend's Place. Tune in to Tiffany's set Monday to check out the week's schedule. But we have Tiffany Monday at 1 p.m., Shaggy Tuesday at 1 p.m. This is all Eastern Standard Time, and Mario Wednesday at 1 p.m. May 21st, Blake Shelton, Gwen Stefani, One Republic, Ellie Goulding, Steve Martin, and the Steep Canyon Rangers, Sam Smith, James Taylor, Meghan Trainor, and Tina, the Tina Turner Musical's Adrienne Warren, are all set to perform for this year's Red Nose Day special, which begins at 9 p.m. on NBC. May 24th, the annual National Memory Day concert that traditionally airs from the West Lawn of the U.S. Capitol will switch to a virtual event. It will be hosted by Joe Mantegna and Gary Sinise. I don't know who this is. Okay, I know who Gary Sinise is, the actor, CSI New York and Forrest Gump. The PBS concert will feature new performances and tributes filmed around the country to honor the military as well as heroes on the front line of the pandemic crisis. Among those appearing will be General Colin Powell, Cynthia Erivo, Renee Fleming, Trace Adkins, CeCe Winans, Kelly O'Hara, Mary McCormick, and the National Symphony Orchestra. May 28th, Questlove will host a virtual dinner party called Questlove's Potluck for his famous friends on Food Network. Patti LaBelle, Olivia Wilde, Kenan Thompson, and more will be cooking and making some of their favorite dishes and drinks from their home kitchens. The virtual dinner will benefit America's Food Fund. It airs 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Food Network. May 29th, the Dropkick Murphys are performing from an empty Fenway Park with pal Bruce Springsteen joining them remotely. The band and the boss will be doing a double play, 2 songs, one from each musical act. The live stream will be available on the Dropkick Murphys Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch pages and begin at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we will take a break and return with music history with Carlos Santana.
You really can't underestimate the importance of having the right creative work for your brand or your product. Whether it's a logo, a website, a book cover, or an ad campaign, you really need a quality design to make that big difference pop and deliver your overall engagement and success in a competitive market. That's where Design Crowd comes in. Design Crowd has over 750,000 designers from Sydney to San Francisco ready to help you with awesome creative ideas. They make crowdsourcing work for you. So if you need a logo or you're working on your creative branding, you can go to designcrowd.com and post a brief describing the design you need. And then within about 2 to 7 days, you'll receive up to over 100 different designs from designers around the world. Then you pick the best design and approve payment to the designer. So you're only paying for the design that you want. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of freelancing and out of crowdsourcing. And you don't have to be a huge company like Harvard Business School to use Design Crowd, although they have used it as well. You can start a project on Design Crowd for as little as $99. And if you go right now to designcrowd.com/health and wellness or enter the promo code health and wellness on their website, then our health and wellness listeners will receive up to $150 off of your design project. That's designcrowd.com/health and wellness or entering that promo code health and wellness.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back to the GSMC Music Podcast. Now let's get into music history with Carlos Santana, according to allmusic.com. Because his pioneering Latin rock band shared his surname, it's easy to conflate Carlos Santana with Santana, especially since the guitarist functioned as the group's leader and spokesperson. Nevertheless, Carlos ventured outside of the confines of his namesake band to pursue adventurous collaborations with jazz musicians. His first non-band album, 1973's Love Devotion Surrender, was recorded with John McLaughlin and Mavasanu Orchestra. His second was made with Alice Coltrane. In addition to smoother material like the kind showcased in 1983's Havana Moon and 1987's Grammy-winning Blues for Salvador, throughout these solo excursions as well as his work with his band, one thing remained constant: Carlos's exceptional lead guitar work, characterized by its warm, saturated tone and fluid lyrical phrasing. Carlos Santana was born in Atlan de Navarro, Mexico on July 20th, 1947, learning to play violin when he was 5, then picking up guitar 3 years later. Oh my gosh, it's like a little music genius. Violin at 5? It's like, yeah, this is going to be an easy, smooth transition to the guitar at 8. His family migrated from his hometown to Tijuana, then moved to San Francisco in the early 60s. He joined his family in California a little after they made the journey north. As a teenager, he played guitar in rock and roll cover bands, gravitating towards blues by the mid-60s. Carlos formed the Santana Blues Band with guitarist, keyboardist, singer Greg Rowley in 1966. During the group's early days, the lineup was volatile, with the membership settling to Carlos, Rowley, bassist David Brown, drummer Bob Doc Livingston, and percussionist Marcus Malone in 1967, around which time the group lost the blues band from their name. Promoter Bill Graham discovered the band and booked Santana to play his Fillmore West on June 16, 1968. The band soon landed a deal with Columbia Records, which enlisted producer David Rubinson to capture the band playing the Fillmore West in December. These tapes were shelved until Columbia Legacy issued them in 1997. That's crazy. So that was a hot commodity by then, 68 to 97 when it was released, as live at the Fillmore in 1968. So prior to recording their first album in early 1969, Santana swapped Livingston and Malone for Michael Shreve and Mike Corbello, adding percussionist Jose Chapito Arrayas as well. This incarnation recorded the group's infamous debut, then set out on tour, where they had a career making appearances at the Woodstock Festival in August 1969. That was the same month Santana appeared in the record stores, and it was a swift success, climbing its way to number 4 on Billboard's album charts during the course of its 2-year run on the charts. The album was assisted by Santana's show-stealing performance in 1970's Woodstock documentary and the single Evil Ways, which peaked at number 9 on Billboard's Hot 100 in 1970. In September of that year, Santana released Abrexes, which bested its predecessor. It peaked at number 1, stayed on the charts for a year and a half, and generated 2 major hits with Black Magic Woman, which reached number 4 on Billboard, and Oya Como Va, which peaked at 13. The ranks of Santana expanded in 1971, Santana, commonly called Santana 3, which guitarist Neil Schon joining the fold, and percussionist Coke Escovedo replacing the ailing Jose Chapito Arrayas. Santana 3 became the third successive smash for the band, peaking at number 1 and generating a big with Everybody's Everything, which reached number 12 on Billboard Hot 100. Santana 3 marked the end of the classic lineup of the band upon the conclusion of its supporting tour. The band broke up, with Carlos retaining the rights to the band name. He'd soon assemble a different version of the band featuring Rowley, Schon, and Arias, debuting this lineup on, how do you say this? Caravanserai, Caravanserai, a 1972 album that found guitars pushing forward into jazz. Although the album peaked at 8 on Billboard and earned a Grammy nomination for Best Pop Instrumental Performance with Vocal Coloring, it slowed the band's commercial momentum, which did nothing to deter the guitarist's appetite for musical exploration. So soon, Carlos started dividing his time between his band and solo projects. First came Carlos Santana and Buddy Miles Live, an LP that captured performances from their joint tour of December 1971 to April 1972. Next, he teamed with guitarist John McLaughlin and his fusion band, the Mofazuno Orchestra, to record the 1973 Love Devotion Surrender. This album was informed by Carlos's increased interest in spirituality. McLaughlin introduced him to his guru, Sri Shimoy, this is Chnmoy, and he soon became a disciple, adopting the name Devadip, Devadip, meaning the lamp, light, and eye of God. In the process, along these lines, Carlos teamed with Alice Coltrane in 1974 for Illuminations, a jazz fusion duet album. That same year, Santana Band released the triple live album Lotus, recorded in Japan. Over the years, its reputation grew, and it would eventually be reissued by Columbia Legacy in Complete Edition in 2017. While he was expanding his musical and spiritual horizons, Carlos continued to keep his namesake band active. From this point forward, the membership was fluid, with musicians drifting in and out of the group on a regular basis. In 1973, a new lineup released, Welcome, but its chart appearance illustrated how Caravansary, Carvanserai, alienated some of the group's fans. It peaked at 25 on Billboard. Borboleta, released a year later, performed slightly better, reaching 20, but it was clear the band was in jeopardy of losing their audience. So Carlos decided to make 1976 Amigos a commercially minded project, reuniting with producer David Rubinson, the man who'd helmed the band's initial hits. Santana sounded slick and direct on Amigos, and their gambit paid off. The album peaked at 10 on the Billboard charts. Rubinson and Santana swiftly delivered a sequel in the form of Festival, which performed respectably upon its January 1977 release. By the end of the year, the band issued Moonflower, which scattered studio cuts among live tracks. It peaked at 10, partially on the strength of a cover of The Zombies, She's Not There, which peaked at 27, their best showing on the Hot 100 since 1971. Another oldies cover, Stormy, by the classic Five, was featured on 1978's Inner Secrets, an album which just scraped the top 30. Carlos released his first official solo album, Oneness, Silver Dreams, Golden Reality, in March 1979. The jazz-influenced album was billed to Devadip. Later that year, the Santana Band returned with Marathon, a more commercial-oriented effort produced by Keith Olsen, which featured the single You Know That I Love You. Shortly afterward, Carlos released a solo album, The Swing of Delight, a collaboration with Rubinson, which was billed to Devadip Carlos Santana. So again, he changed his name. That was his spiritual name. So the other album was just Devadip, and now this one is Devadip Carlos Santana. The band bounced back in 1981 with Z-Bop, which peaked at number 9 thanks to the hit single Winning. Hold On, the lead single, 1982. Shango went to 15 on the Hot 100, taking its parent album to 22. A solo album, this time billed as Carlos Santana and called Havana Moon, appeared in 1983, peaking at 31. Following his prolific decade and a half, Santana started to slow their studio output in the 80s. The band didn't return with a new album until 1985, when Beyond appearances arrived in February of that year. Its single, Say It Again, topped out at 45. 5 rungs higher than 50, that was the album's peak showing. Santana celebrated their 20th anniversary with a concert in 1986, but 1987's Freedom didn't make much of an impact on the charts, peaking at 95. Carlos went solo in 87 with Blues for Salvador, an album that snagged him his first Grammy Award for the title track. Best Rock Instrumental Performance is what he got. A lavish box set retrospective called Viva Santana appeared in 1988. It'd be certified gold, and the Santana Band returned in 1990 with Spirits Dancing in the Flesh, which turned out to be their last album for their longtime home, Columbia Records. Santana signed with Polydor for 1992's Milagro, but the album failed to generate much attention, peaking at 1992. A year later, the groups released Sacred Fire live in South America, which peaked at 181 on Billboard's top 200. Wow, he just keeps... Oh, that's not great for him. Carlos teamed with his brother George and his nephew Carlos Hernandez for the Santana Brothers album. And I know he had a brother who recently just passed away. I'm not sure if it's George. But for Santana Brother album, I'll verify that in a moment. But for the Santana Brothers album, it scraped the top 200, reaching 191. And yes, it was George Santana who passed away. He died of natural causes on Thursday. He was 68 years old. All right, so back to the Santana bio. So while Carlos worked with his brother, Rolly, Arias, and Carbello, formed a separate group called Abraxas Pool, releasing the Abraxas Pool album in 1994. For the rest of the 90s, Santana drifted ever closer to the oldies circuit, but their fortunes were revived when their old supporter Clive Davis signed the group to Arista in 1998. Davis designated a star-studded comeback for the band that took the form of Supernatural. Oh, okay. See, this is now when I was introduced to Carlos, because that was 1999. Yeah. Okay. I was alive then. That exceeded any possible expectations. That album was big thanks to the single Smooth, a song featuring Matchbox 20 singer Rob Thomas, who also co-wrote the tune. Supernatural became an international blockbuster, topping the charts throughout the world, earning a coveted diamond certification in the U.S. and winning 8 Grammy Awards, including Record of the Year and Album of the Year. Supernatural produced another number one single in the form of Maria Maria, which featured Wyclef Jean, and that was a song. Whenever I think of Carlos Santana, I know he has several songs, millions of songs prior to 1999, but all I think of is Maria Maria. And it featured Wyclef, in 1999, I loved me some Wyclef. So all you have to do was say Wyclef and I'll listen. But that Smooth, that entire album, it was hit after hit. And Clive was smart because they took something old or an older artist who has an older audience and paired them up with the hot artists at that time. So we had just a bunch of features on the album, and that's why the bad boy went diamond. And that's why I knew all the songs, because it featured artists that I was listening to. Other than that, there's no way in heck I would have known who Carlos Santana was. So yeah. But it was Smooth that kept Supernatural on the top of the charts for 12 weeks. Santana delivered Shaman, their Supernatural sequel, in 2002, thanks to the hit single The Game of Love. I don't even remember that. The song co-written by Greg Alexander of the New Radicals and sung by Michelle Branch, that peaked at number 5. I think Michelle Branch, I might have remembered, kind of, but obviously it didn't stick. But it won the Grammy for Best Pop Collaboration with Vocals. The album was another cross-demographic hit, peaking at number 1 on Billboard and earning double platinum certification by RIAA. Arriving in 2005, All That I Am debuted at 2 on Billboard, but effectively brought Santana's revival as hitmakers to an end. Its lead single, I'm Feeling You, which one again featured Michelle Branch. I think I remember that song, topped out at 55. Because Michelle Branch was kind of she was popping. I think that was like the end of her pop. Like after that, it was Michelle who? So forthcoming, Santana remained a fixture in pop and rock culture. In 2010, they released Guitar Heaven, a collection of classic rock covers featuring guest vocalists. Debuting at 5 on Billboard, it turned out to be their last album for Arista. Shapeshifter, the band's 2012 album, was their first not to feature guests since Melrago. Released on their Sony distributed imprint Starfaith, the largely instrumental album peaked at 16 upon its release. Santana returned to duets for 2014's Corazon, an album that spotlighted Latin music and featured appearances by Pitbull, Gloria Estefan, Las Fabulas, Cadillacs, and Juanes. Carlos reunited most of the Santana 3 lineup featuring Rolly, Sean, Shreve, and Corbello for Santana 4, an album released in April 2016. The next year, the band released Power of Peace, a collaboration album with the Isley Brothers. Did I know that? That sounds sick as hell. I'm gonna have to check that out. Power of Peace, Isley Brothers, and Santana. It was Santana's last album for Sony. Santana signed with Concord in 2018. The first release in the contract was the Noranda Michael Walden produced EP In Search of the Mona Lisa, which appeared in 2019, so January 2019. All right. Like I said, I didn't know Carlos Santana until 1999, so this was definitely a lesson in history for me. I definitely appreciate your time. I thank you for listening to the GSMC Music Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Until next time, I'm Gaelika Brown, the music lover constantly seeking positive music.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Music Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.